Whereas deals with its problems and how we treat the people and how we treat the art and things of that nature. So it's important that we have this kind of a conversation with the public so that they understand a lot more in detail how this is being done. We already know why it is being done, but how it is being done is also important for people to understand. Like we said earlier, the day is November the 16th, the United Nations recognition of the Day for Tolerance, which in itself is significant as we move forward as a people. It goes to the museum, and from there it will be reinterpreted at a point in time to be determined by them when it becomes a part of their exhibits. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us this evening for this announcement. We're going to look forward to you being there with us. It's open. Obviously, we're going to use social media to ensure that as many people as humanly possible have a chance to see this historic day. As mentioned by the PS, there will be a cultural presentation entitled From History to Healing. That has been put together by the National Cultural Foundation. It will feature different aspects of the arts, from spoken word to music to dance, but all of it will tell the story of how we got here to this particular point. And as Ambassador also mentioned, that day we are hoping will also become part of the folklore of Barbados for generations to come.
Most of the world, COVID-19 inspired crisis, public health crisis, economic crisis, social crisis, a burgeoning debt crisis, and a lot is going to be demanded of the Barbadian people to get us through this crisis safely. And therefore, we are going to have to call on our instincts and our values of national identity, who we are, of inclusiveness. And so no more than ever do we need a strong sense of who we are as a people, of the values that bind us together, make us a cohesive unit. And those values are the values exemplified not by Admiral Nelson, who was really an architect of British colonialism, a defender of British empire, an apologist for slavery. Those values rather are the values of our Bussers and our Samuel Jackman Prescods and our Grantley Adamses and Clement Paynes and our Sir Garfield Sobers and our Aaron Walton Barrows, of our national heroes. And so this is about consolidating that sense of national identity, national purpose, as exemplified by our 10 national heroes, the place that we know as National Hero Square that was dedicated to them. So there can be now that the challenge facing us is so intense, we have probably in this country we have not faced as intense an existential challenge as this since the 1930s. So let's be very clear about this. Our country faces a very intense existential challenge. No more than ever do we need to consolidate all of those positive values that our national heroes stood for and exemplified, and use them to fortify ourselves as a people to get through this very challenging period. So there's no better time than now.
And that I said earlier that in the 1960s when we went to independence, the transformation could not go any further probably at that time, because it meant that the administrators of the state was moving ahead of the people on the ground. Now, after all of these years has developed, people fighting for the removal of Nelson all in the 1930s. But 2020, and what month in the year in 2020 can be either too early or too late? I would like to believe that if you're talking about the evolution of that consciousness and the spirit of the people, from 1937 on to 2020, you must be at a point where you move at any time that you can move it. But I think the question, to ask the question, is to say, I would like to believe that to say that it should not be moved in November. I don't think that is the reason. What I want to say is that as Special Envoy, the Prime Minister, Special Envoy of Restoration and Enfranchisement, I've been doing some work. I went back to the Frank World's house, to the eastern side of the wall at Empire Cricket Grounds in recent times to see how far we are with that. We have the first black captain of the West Indies cricket team, which meant so much to the people in Trinidad and Tobago and the other people in the Caribbean, that Eric Williams and these people were speaking about what this meant to Trinidad at this specific time in history. Now we have, for the first time in our lives, since the days of enslavement and colonialism, we have a black West Indian cricketer who is the captain of the West Indies cricket team. And you can't understand the enthusiasm of a people if you don't understand that history. Now, apart from that, I journeyed to Bayland. I was in the Bayland this week because I could not believe that we have a man as a national hero, Sir Garfield Sobers, and there might be people in the Bayland don't even know where he was born, where he grew up. They don't know the playing field in which this man played cricket and become an international icon as a result of sport. And I was out there asking until some people directed me to the house, and that is one of the issues that I'm going to put on the table, because I believe that the state should also play a meaningful role in preserving those aspects of history. The Frank World House, for example, the National Trust was doing something on it, but we haven't seen anything being done on it recently. And my position, if it means what I think it should mean, my position is for me to help with the revolutionary changes that are required in my lifetime and the lifetime of everybody that is here. And it will not like us if we at this stage, an issue that was in the forefront of national discussion in the 1930s would not find itself coming to this point in 2020. I don't want to see that come out for years elapse again before we make this physical transformation, which is either a manifestation of how the people are thinking, or we are ahead again of the people.
And it's those questions that will guide us as to the type of interpretation that we can do, and to recognize that the interpretation can indeed be multifaceted. It might form a backdrop where artists are commissioned to juxtapose their own work against that of what a statue is, beyond just the narrative of what it is and why it has been removed. I think that's a work in progress. But I think that type of multidisciplinary approach that allows for co-curation from the public is one of the main ways in which we'll go about its reinterpretation. And I think that allows us as well to really disseminate and educate people more about the context of and the various aspects which it shows up. And I'm going to use the word contested. I think that's the proper word to use. And it's not a bad word. And it's a word that we need to get more comfortable with. Contested is not a bad thing. It makes us think. It spreads our imagination, and it allows us to engage with that part of our past, which sometimes we're shy about, and I don't think we need to be shy about it anymore.